In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro discusses the political landscape following the inauguration of Donald Trump, whom he refers to as the 47th President of the United States. Shapiro emphasizes a shift in the cultural narrative, suggesting that the era of weird is over and that a more traditional Normie approach is taking hold in American society. He argues that the Democratic Party has failed to adapt to this change, particularly in its embrace of wokeness, which he claims is a losing strategy for them. Shapiro asserts that the Democratic Party has miscalculated its stance on various social issues, which he describes as 820 issues, meaning that a significant majority of Americans reject extreme positions on topics like gender identity and race-based discrimination. He cites the backlash against Congressman Seth Moulton, who suggested that boys should not compete in girls' sports, as evidence of the party's inability to separate itself from radical ideologies. Shapiro argues that wokeness has become the core philosophy of the left, making it difficult for them to pivot away from these contentious issues. He further critiques the left's economic arguments, stating that the traditional Marxist narrative of class struggle does not hold in America, where economic mobility is prevalent. Shapiro believes that Americans aspire to build wealth and improve their lives, which contradicts the left's push for a more equal society through the redistribution of wealth. He posits that the left has had to reframe its arguments, moving from economic Marxism to race Marxism or sex Marxism, which he collectively refers to as wokeness. Shapiro recounts an incident during the National Prayer Service held at the Washington National Cathedral, where an Episcopal bishop, Marianne Budde, delivered a sermon that he describes as a diatribe of woke mind nonsense. He criticizes her for using the platform to attack Trump and for promoting ideas he believes are disconnected from traditional Christian values. Shapiro argues the left has hollowed out institutions like the church, replacing their foundational principles with leftist ideologies. The podcast also delves into the controversy surrounding Elon Musk, who has recently been accused by some on the left of making a Nazi salute during a public appearance. Shapiro dismisses these claims as absurd, arguing that Musk's gesture was merely an awkward expression of enthusiasm. He highlights the media's tendency to label their opponents as Nazis, a tactic he believes is indicative of the left's desperation to vilify anyone who opposes their agenda. Shapiro points out that even the Anti-Defamation League acknowledged that Musk's gesture was not a Nazi salute, yet the left continues to push this narrative. He criticizes figures like AOC and various media personalities for their exaggerated responses, suggesting that they are more interested in maintaining a narrative of fascism than in addressing real issues. Throughout the podcast, Shapiro emphasizes that the left's strategy is fundamentally flawed. He argues that their inability to separate from radical ideas has left them with a limited playbook, primarily focused on labeling their opponents as fascists. He cites various examples, including comments from politicians like Chris Murphy and Simone Sanders, who have attempted to connect Trump and Musk to extremist ideologies without any substantial evidence. Shapiro also discusses the broader implications of this political climate, suggesting that the left's fixation on January 6 and the supposed threat of Trumpism is a distraction from more pressing issues. He believes that the American public is increasingly aware of these tactics and is rejecting the left's narrative. As the podcast progresses, Shapiro shifts focus to the new administration's foreign policy and domestic initiatives. He highlights Secretary of State Marco Rubio's commitment to prioritizing American interests and bringing an end to the war in Ukraine. Shapiro praises the administration's focus on peace through strength and its efforts to cut off funding for terrorism, particularly in relation to organizations like UNRWA, which he claims have ties to terrorist activities. He also discusses a significant investment in AI infrastructure announced by Trump, which he believes will position the United States as a leader in technology and create numerous jobs. Shapiro argues that this investment is crucial for maintaining American competitiveness in a rapidly evolving global landscape.